When one is questioning the morality of a given course of action, it sure helps when you can define and judge your own actions. This is exactly what the Sith Lords Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious did when they envisioned the coming war that would emerge decades later as the Clone War. Unsurprisingly, these Sith didn't see the destruction that would be brought to the galaxy as evil. But there's actually much more to the philosophies and understanding of both Plagueis and Sidious in this regard. They knew there would be a requirement for massive sacrifice on the part of the galaxy, and they didn't simply dismiss it as part of the Sith path to galactic dominance, where the Sith simply destroyed anyone and anything in their way. Their view of the coming warfare and death of billions had far greater nuance, and in the end, they had their justifications for why warfare on a galactic scale wasn't evil. In this video expose, we'll look at these justifications developed by Plagueis and Sidious that made the Clone Wars their only option, and if any blame was to be apportioned, it wouldn't fall with the Sith, but with the Jedi and Republic. It needs to first be mentioned that for Plagueis and Sidious, these decisions and the path towards the Clone War wasn't about good versus evil. This might be a simple disregard for responsibility, but it goes without saying that no Sith in the Bane Rule of Two era would define themselves as evil. Of course, the Sith would see what they were doing as good, and toppling the Jedi and Republic wasn't an evil action for them. The rule of the Sith was a truth that had to be brought to dominance. For Plagueis, it goes even further, as he really was devoid of looking at his actions in moral terms. All actions in the physical corporal world were beyond the realm of good and evil. The war between the light and dark couldn't and shouldn't be defined that way. But at the same time, the Sith weren't simply heartless monsters ready to kill anyone that got in their way, or happy to kill beings by the billions through warfare. Plagueis himself was a proponent of Bane's doctrine on the killing of innocents. It was not the mission of the Sith to kill every being unfit to live. The Sith were much more merciful than that, simply concerned with power. Even Sidious boasted about the control of his rage, and attempted to pass on to Vader the willpower not to kill every being that failed them. So then how did these Sith justify the destruction of the Clone War and shed any definition that saw such warfare as evil? First, the key to this doctrine is Plagueis' view that the Sith were superior beings above all those in the galaxy. As superior beings, it fell to the Sith to make the hard decisions that not just put the Sith in power, but pretty surprisingly from Plagueis' point of view, to better the lives of everyone. Make no mistake, 30 years before the outbreak of the Clone War, Plagueis and Sidious knew dark times were coming, that an era of warfare was approaching. But this destruction wasn't just a product of the Sith. It was a necessary requirement thanks to the deterioration of the Galactic Order implemented and upheld by the Jedi and Republic. Yes, dark times were ahead for the galaxy, but the Jedi and Republic were to blame for that. The actions of the Jedi disgusted Plagueis. They were both crippled by empathy and shackled by obedience, not to the Force, but to the corrupt Republic. They approached the Force as if it were programmed into them, enslaved to dogma that supported the Republic despite its wrongheadedness, merely for the sake of maintaining a galactic government that had been failing for hundreds of years. And even worse, this state of affairs caused every being to suffer in failing to reach their full potential, stagnation of the worst kind. The Jedi were no longer agents of the Force, but a barrier to the stability of the galaxy. As superior beings, Plagueis and Sidious recognized that the hard decisions that had to be made fell to them, those that the Jedi and Republic wouldn't even dare to question. And here is perhaps our most important point. Because the Jedi were so weak as to not even question the current government, the Sith could only act as the saviors of the galaxy through warfare. Conflict and destruction was the unavoidable end result. Even more, the Sith knew the decay and rot overseen by the Jedi had no cure. An era of warfare had to be ushered in to purge the galaxy of the failed order that had been established for millennia. As a literal quote from Plagueis to Sidious, the existing political order and the position of the Jedi had to be eradicated by the flames of a cleansing fire, with blame placed squarely at the feet of the Jedi. Thus, Plagueis and Sidious saw that an era of warfare wasn't necessarily the option of the Sith. In a way, it was forced upon them. But either way, it was required, not evil because it would save the galaxy. It had to fall to the Sith to end the turmoil upheld by the Jedi. The Force elected them to carry out their destructive path, ordained to harness and exploit the chaos. In this way, Plagueis and Sidious were the galaxy's only hope, as only the Sith could undertake the process of rebuilding the galaxy from the ground up. And of course, rebuilding demanded destruction. The interesting aspect for Plagueis here is that the Sith actually believed that given their election by the Force and the recognition that they were superior beings on a mission to help save the galaxy owed them every courtesy and sacrifice the Sith required of them. Warfare would lead to the death of billions, but the salvation brought by the Sith, where the descendants of those living at the time experienced immense improvement, meant that every being in the galaxy owed the sacrifice of their very lives. And for the Sith, the galaxy was completely prepared to make this sacrifice, ready to walk the dark path of the destruction required of them. Plagueis and Sidious noted that during their reign as master and apprentice, the galaxy was undergoing a significant shift. Beings hungered for the dark side, and as recognized by those who could touch the Force, the light within the galaxy was pulling back and retreating. This signaled to the Sith the galaxy was ready for tough choices and sacrifices, finding solutions in the Sith demands of harsh laws and warfare. Therefore, the sacrifice of billions through the coming Clone War was the only salvation the galaxy could turn to, ready for the stability and order that would be brought by the Sith. Within these parameters, there was absolutely no way the Sith could view the Clone Wars and the destruction it would bring as evil. For Plagueis and Sidious, it was completely justified due to the errors of the Jedi Republic, and because of the superiority of the Sith. So there we have it, the Clone War from a certain point of view. Of course, Plagueis and Sidious, that is. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me, for being ordained by the Force.